All right, this is video number 2 for writing the word art and then using 1-point perspective to make it look three-dimensional. What I'm going to do now is make my parallel lines to make the backs of my letters. If I don't make these lines, then everything seems to go really far back in space all the way to the vanishing point. So the first thing I'm going to do is line my ruler up on the tops of my letters. So you can see the A, the R, and the T all line up here. And actually I'm going to line the bottom of the ruler up so I can see the letters. And I'm going to make a line, a guideline across the page about an inch up, about the thickness of my ruler. It doesn't have to be exact. And this is a guideline, so it should be light. In fact, I made mine so light that in one spot I can't see it at all, so I'm going to go back over it again. There we go. Okay, and this is going to represent how far back in space the letters go. So this line is going to show me where I end my letters. For the purpose of this exercise, we are making all of our letters go back to the same point. When you make your own project that I will assign to you in the next few days with your name, you won't have to line things up like this, but it's important that you know how to do it. You may choose to line things up the way we're doing it today, or you may do it a different way. So what I'm going to be doing now is making parallel lines. So I'm going to start off with a line that coincides with this horizontal line right here. I'm using colored pencil just to make things very clear and to show you the relationship between lines and lines that are parallel to one another. You should not be using colored pencil. This is only to help me to guide you. So this is a horizontal line. I slide, I don't turn my ruler, so I'm lining up my horizontal line. I slide my ruler to this point back here, and that is where I make my parallel line. We know that parallel lines are two lines that never meet. So if I'm making a parallel line to a horizontal line, both of these lines are horizontal. And I'm just going to make it blue to make it a little bit more evident. All right, this line right here, this is a diagonal line. So what I'm going to do is just color code that as well. And then I'm going to make my parallel diagonal line. So I'm going to use the color green on that line. And I'm going to be sliding my ruler back to this point. Now notice my horizontal line meets this diagonal line at this corner. So this horizontal line will also meet the diagonal line. So if I slide my ruler and I don't allow it to turn, this line will be parallel to this line right here. Both are at a diagonal. Okay, my A is complete. I stop when I hit the letter R because the A is hidden behind the R. The R is overlapping the A, and the T will be overlapping the R. Okay, so the next letter that I'm working on is my R, and I'm going to make a parallel line to the R, which means that that line is going to be a curved line. So it starts off horizontal and then curves. So I'm just going to use a colored pencil to make it clear. So I go from here, around then curve. If I want the back of my R to line up with the A, I know that it's going to line up on this guideline back here. So I start here, and I curve. And I stop when I hit the T. If I was making my letter R much more shallow, what I would be doing is I'd be making a curved line, and then I'd be making a diagonal line right here, the same thickness as this part up here. And then this is vertical and curved. I'd be making vertical and curved, and then I'd be ending this here and erasing my guidelines. I'm just going to shade that in so you can see what that would look like if my R was very, very shallow. All right, so that's the side of this, that's the side of this, that's the side of this, that's the side of that. Since I'm not making my R shallow, you're actually not going to see where this point ends. So the hole in the back of the R is somewhere back in this area. It's not visible because the front of it is covering it. The same thing goes for what I'll call the leg of the R. I'm never going to make this diagonal line because it's covered by the T. If my letters are more spaced out and my T wasn't here, this would go around and diagonal, just like this goes around and diagonal. But since it's further back, my R is actually complete. This is all that I needed right here. Now for my letter T. My letter T has a horizontal line up top. So there's that horizontal line, then a vertical line, and another vertical line. So this goes horizontal, vertical. So this will go horizontal, vertical. I use this guideline back here, and that is where my T ends. I could also start here on that horizontal line and slide it there, or I could do it the way I did it at first. And then I have my vertical line here. I slide and I make my vertical line for the back of the T. Just so you see how these coincide, horizontal, horizontal, vertical, vertical. As you can see, these meet and form a 90-degree angle, as do these back here. Common mistake I see for a letter like T is a lot of students will make this vertical line for here too far back. The reason that this does not work is because this vertical line is to the right of this vertical line. They're not directly on top of each other, so this should not be a continuous line. Another thing to think about is the distance from here to here. I'm just going to use my fingers to measure that. I could also use a ruler. There, that is about where that should end, so that the distance is the same. So here's my vertical line. I go to that point, and you can see this line coincides with this line. They are parallel to each other. Now my letters are complete. I just need to erase my guidelines. I'm erasing anything now that is not a part of the letters, which again is why it's so important to press light. As you may have seen in the previous exercises, it becomes really, really difficult if you press hard to erase later, which is not such a big deal for the worksheets, but it's good practice to do things the right way so that when you work on your final project, you don't end up having to retrace everything because it's not done properly and your lines are showing. Okay, so this worksheet is now complete. I can also erase my vanishing point at this point. One thing you might be wondering is why I didn't put a horizon line on here. And the reason I did not is because we want to just have letters, and anywhere that there's a vanishing point, we just assume that's where the horizon line is. You don't have to actually see it and draw it. And we're not going to have that on our final project either.